B1 family, welcome to Blacklogic. We're going to jump right into this. We're going to cover a bit of Joe Biden's past, and I don't mean his 1994 crime bill or anything like that, family. What I'm referring to is Joe Biden's political promises that he essentially made, kept, promised, or they were somehow compromised by other political parties. Now, I'm giving you the source here. So a lot of people like to refute the information, and I understand that. But PolitiFact is a nonpartisan fact checking website to sort out the truth in American politics. It goes and state when it was created and that it was acquired by the Partner Institute, a nonprofit school for journalists. So that is where the track record on Joe Biden is coming from. Now, what we're covering very quickly with Joe Biden is the promises that he made to America, okay? And they broke it down in percentages here. As you can see here, promises kept was 28%, 32 promises were stalled, or 32% of promises were stalled, 25% in the works, 10% compromised, and then 3% promises were broken. So look at the 3% that were broken. Incentivize states to restore voting rights to convicted felons, support the study of reparations for slavery. So basically in support of something similar to HR 40 that has no tangibles for Black Americans. Now, on one account here, I wasn't aware of this particular right to felons. This is something that Obama started during his presidency, and it never got approved because in some regards, this could be beneficial for Black Americans because it's going to increase our voting block, which may increase our organization and being on code in some regards. But then again, if they vote blue, no matter who, they're just Democratic shills and they want to go with the Democratic Party because of policies like this, then they're lost to the cause. And then legislation like this doesn't really benefit us at all. Support the study of reparations for slavery. As I stated before, that's something like HR 40. That's very insignificant. Here we have block new fracking on federal lands, but not ban of all fracking. Okay, we'll go back here. Let's look at the promises that were kept, right? That may be significant. Invest $300 million in COPS program. Increase refugee admissions. So far he's done, family first, so far he's done the first two. Expand Justice Department power to address police misconduct. I'm pretty sure that's in legislation, but I haven't seen it on a nationwide scale that has been very effective to decrease or stop police brutality when it comes to foundational Black Americans. Now, invest $300 million in COPS program. Let's jump over here very quickly, okay? It states here, fund the police and promote effective prosecution of crimes affecting families today. Who do you think that is going to affect mostly? Just depending on the current numbers and data, okay, and 2-hour research that we currently have, okay? We're going to go through these very quickly. Put 100,000 additional officers for effective accountability, community policing on our streets. Where do you think 100 extra thousand police officers are going to go? Do you think they're going to go into the suburbs? Do you think they're going to go into the Asian community? Do you think they're going to put a vast majority of these police officers in Hispanic communities? No, you know where they're coming. You know where they're coming. Support state, local, tribal, and territorial officers with the high quality training the president already mandated at the federal level. This means that of that 300 million, let's just say an arbitrary 50 million of it went to the Indian Bureau's Affairs for Native American tribes. Okay, that's all what I'm reading there. I'm going through this very quickly. Recruit and retain police officers who demonstrate a commitment to honorably serving and protecting. I call cap. We haven't seen that yet. And what I mean by that, family, of course, there's examples of heroism and police officers doing the right thing. But as people will state, those couple bad apples make all police look bad. But we know there's more than just a couple bad apples, okay? Especially when you have police gangs inside of the police that actually go out and plant evidence on people or frame people, kill people, etc. Ensure that the new resources for law enforcement reach not only our biggest cities, but also our small cities and towns. Seems like more police, more over policing. Provide communities with funding they need to set up task force to bring down the homicide and gun violence rate. Sounds like they're targeting that at Baltimore, Detroit, and Chicago. Okay. Do we have a problem with the lack of police? That's the question here. Do we have a problem with the lack of police, or do we have a problem with police brutality? I'll leave that open-ended. Okay, let me go back. So let's see some interesting ones. Improve Obamacare, of course you did. Increase access to VA care beyond 5-year elderly for combat veterans. That's a good one. Reduce health uninsured rate for Black Americans. Reduce health uninsured rate for Black Americans. Did he now? And family, this is all organic. I did not already go through this. I'm going through this organically right now. I'm gonna see if there are any keywords here. Let's see here. The year before Biden took office, uninsured rate for Blacks was 10.4%. It says, way to determine who counts as Black, but for the article, we just used the Bureau's Black alone category, which includes Black people identified with the additional racial category. Okay, we got the premise. And it states here the insurance rate for Black Americans fell in President Joe Biden's first year. Okay. Black is represented in burnt orange. And we see that during the Trump era, supposedly, this is the beginning of the Biden era. Let's go back to when Trump took office, okay, 4 years prior. It was at 9.3%, okay? Then it was at 9.7. Then it dropped to 9.6. And then his last year in office, it rose to 10.4. Now, they only have this significant, this statistic here at 9.0. What I want you guys to keep in mind is that anytime you're having a conversation about politics, they're going to tell you that it takes time for legislation to take effect. So 2020, 2021, it could be enough time to decrease that rate. But basically at 2020, stating that they inherit a rising cause for Black people under Trump. That may be significant for some people, okay? And again, this is a nonpartisan website, and that could have been legislation that directly affected Black Americans. Get COVID-19 under control, put us on a course to net zero emissions by 2050, repeal law barring medicine from negotiating lower drug prices. Let's see what else. Nominate the first Black women to the Supreme Court. Does that help the Black American family? No, it's symbolism at its best. It helped Ketanji, I forgot to pronounce her name, but her last name is Brown. Supreme Court Justice Brown. I'll give her just due. Okay. Establish new fuel economy standards. Work with allies to develop secure private sector-led 5G networks. Direct federal resources to help prevent violence against transgender women. Direct federal resources to help prevent violence against transgender women. Can we? I think sometimes, family, we need to go to the statistics. Let's just do this. Hate crime statistics, stats. Let's do that. We're gonna go right here to the Department of Justice. Okay. By the way, the FBI. Let's see if they have. All right. They said that 60% of hate crimes, 59.1, 60% of hate crimes is based on race and ethnicity versus your sexual orientation at 17.2. Actually, religion has a higher hate crime rate. Okay. Okay. So let's see if they break this down by race. As you said, once again, race-based hate in America is the #1 hate crime. Okay. That is what they're stating here. Offenses by crime category, known offenders, location type. Let's see if we have a chart here for um, reading, excuse me, easy reading pleasure. I think that other website, give me a second here. I think one of these has either the FBI or the Department of Justice have a comprehensive chart for you to look at. And I don't think this is it. I've seen it before, and let's try one more time, and then I'll go back to the first one so we can see that. Okay. Oh, okay. There we are. I probably looked at this before because it's still my highlights. Race-based crimes, anti-Black incidents numbering 3,400 were more than 3 times higher than the next highest racial or ethnic category. Okay. And then when we come down here to the LGBTQI and targeted crimes, it says incidents targeting gay men reached 1,000. By anti-lesbian was 622. What else do we have here? Okay, because transgender hate crime should be in here as well, but they're not breaking that down. The point I'm stating is, family, is that people are getting federal protections under Joe Biden that Black Americans actually lead the categories in receiving the help in the first damn place. That's what I'm getting at. Okay. But yeah, I think you get my point on that one. So I won't beat a dead horse. Use the Defense Production Act to produce. I'm not going to read all of these. Okay. Resume ties with the Palestinian authorities. Okay. 100 million COVID-19 shots per day. Reverse family separation. Reverse family separation policies. These are when people are stating about the open border policies that Biden had. The reverse family separation policies. This is how a lot of people are getting tethered and anchored in to America. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of that, family, but it's very significant that we understand Joe Biden's stance and how he operates. We definitely need to understand that because essentially Biden was a spitting image of Obama in some regards. But instead of beating Biden, he's already dropped out. Let's get on Kamala. I ran across this young lady on TikTok that I want you guys to watch one of these clips. I think this is a perfect introduction to what a Kamala Harris presidency would essentially look like. I think this would be the perfect introduction of what a Kamala Harris presidency will look like. Listen in.
Hello, America. You don't have to clap.
Nobody's clapping.
Okay. With the exploration of space having been defined in the 21st century, we know then what we know now, and what we know now is absolutely nothing. We also know, living in this century, we know that the definitions from the last centuries of where we stand and where we go have to be the same definition of opportunity. Yeah, opportunity. Well, it was defined in the 20th century. Very good definition. Webster's Dictionary. Yeah, we had some good memories. Past becomes future, and future becomes present. And when you really think about that, when you really think about it, it makes sense when you actually rearrange the words. Hello, America.
Family, let me tell you something. That was expertly done. That was expertly done. I couldn't do it better myself. I probably couldn't do anywhere near that. But that was absolutely expertly done. Man, that's a great way to introduce the next possible nominee for the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris. Okay. But there's a lot of things that we need to understand about Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party. They simply put Kamala Harris on the ticket with Joe Biden to win the black vote, and especially the black female vote, because black females sometimes have the tendency, sometimes they have the tendency to convince black men to vote, especially if they're in a serious relationship and or if they're married. Okay. Now, some people vote how they like, but believe me, people in relationship are very influential to one another. Okay. So not only did she win the black vote, she won the black female vote, and she probably won over some Asians, especially Indian Americans. Okay. Because her mother was Indian, her father was Jamaican. I think that is significant to say as well. But when we look at this family, even her whole Democratic Party does not want her to be the nominee. Joe Biden has already endorsed Kamala Harris to be on the ticket for the next president of these United States of America. But when he was speaking about Joe Biden, he spoke very highly of Joe Biden. He said a lot of great things about Joe Biden. But he never spoke about endorsing Kamala Harris. Never did he. We have to remember some things about Kamala Harris, family, because when Kamala Harris was running for president in 2020, she famously told Black Americans, she told us that she wouldn't do anything specifically for us that will, and if she did, it will benefit everyone. And if those people, shout out to Ron DeSantis and your anti-woke, it didn't work, brother. For those Black Americans, U.S. freedmen, foundational Black Americans who were woke, it raised a lot of our eyebrows and said, now we know where you stand. And if we look at this in contrast with her actions in office, during Kamala's tenure, she supported and co-opted several pieces of legislation that were specifically targeted towards other groups. Don't forget, she supported the COVID-19 Asian Anti-Hate Crimes Act. Asians are the only group of Americans in that legislation that gives them federal protections in law. We was not mentioned. No one else was mentioned. And we cannot forget that Kamala has also supported legislation that benefited the LGBT community and women, but not for Black Americans. She's always a supporter of the Equality Act. And we understand that was aimed to provide consistent and explicit anti-discrimination protections for the LGBT community. She also backed the Paycheck Fairness Act. We understand that was to close the gender pay gap, not the racial wealth gap, but the gender pay gap. So let's get real for a moment, family. Because as Black folk, we have been on the front lines of every major civil rights battle in the country, and who has it benefited the most? Not us. We fought for all sorts of voting acts, economic equality, and end to police brutality, and we have yet to receive the same benefits that other groups have received. But yet we continue to support candidates that support other groups more than us. That is what we do. We continue to support candidates who support other groups, and they tell us in our face. They tell us in their face every single time. People remember Kamala Harris' comments that she is not going to do anything specifically for Black folk. But when you go down her policy, she's done things for all these other groups. We need very comprehensive policies that address our particular economic disparities. Healthcare access, educational opportunities, and protection under the law, just like Asian Americans, just like Native Americans. The Democratic Party in whole has been ignoring Black America until they need our vote. It's been ignoring a Black America until it needs our vote, and then it wants to hold fish fries. They want to throw on go-go music and hip-hop and dance a jig and hand out soul food. That is when they want to go to the Black church. That is when they want to walk in the hood to be relatable. But when you ask them what they're doing specifically for your community, for your family, for your group, for your people, they tell you, and they end up telling you what they're going to do for everyone. But here's some of the words that Barack Obama, was in support of Joe Biden and told him he was a great guy and all sorts of accolades from Obama. Never mentioned Kamala. I wonder why. So the question is, what do the people think? What do the people think of Kamala Harris? I wonder, guys like this, what do they think of Kamala Harris? The question here is, do American voters think Kamala Harris could beat Donald Trump? Who thinks that Kamala Harris, other than the AKAs, the ski-wee crowd, other than them, who believes that Kamala Harris can beat Donald Trump with the current information we have right now?
Sad state of affairs, to be honest with you. Half of the country is one way, half of the other. It's just very sad.
I think I'm excited that he dropped out. I don't think she's the best pick either, though. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting.
I think it's an unfortunate time for our country that the president was forced to step back. I think he had no choice but to endorse Kamala during this period, though.
My reaction is I think we needed new candidates anyway. I think a change in a woman running is probably what we need right now.
I'm not surprised. Just watching interviews with him, it just seemed like he was, deteriorating. Not to say that he isn't a good president. It just didn't seem like he should run again.
Sad that he decided not to run because he was a man with a good heart that cared about this country more than himself.
He's done an admirable job, but as I have had conversations with my wife and my family, I told her, I think the age factor was so overwhelming.
It was hard and it was harsh and it was painful. I can't imagine how painful for him and for his family. But the country, I think we needed this, and we can only be grateful.
We don't have much to choose from, left or right. That's just my personal opinion. So I don't think we'll be good with or without him. We have a long way to go.
Now, that brother right there was speaking powerful. The last guy at the end, that's someone I can definitely respect because he said neither one is good. So it doesn't matter if he's in office or not. That's speaking truth to power, family. Let's look at some of the headlines here. Let's look at some of the headlines. Let me see. Get this popping up here. Kamala Harris presidential campaign raised nearly $50 million since Biden endorsement, or was this a transfer from the?
The real purpose of training isn't to win the trophy.
Hold on. You always got something popping up. But was this a transfer from the Biden, from the Biden campaign funds to Kamala? Did they make a cross donate? I don't know the right terminology, but did somehow she get some of his campaign money? Because Joe Biden is going to spend $25 million on advertising and marketing, also known as brainwashing, okay? That's all they really do in media anyway. That's all they do is brainwash. Maybe I'm brainwashing, I don't know. But nonetheless, I'm just trying to give you the truth straight, no chaser, okay? And of course, my internet is the slowest, okay? I got snail mail. Pelosi Jeffries, hold on, this might stop playing. Okay, here we go. Pelosi, Jeffrey stopped short of backing Harris of 2024. So the Democrats pressure Biden out of office. Don't just think Biden stepped down on his own. Up until Friday or Saturday, Biden was running for president, family. Biden was running for president. And then all of a sudden, he's dropping out. And people believe it was his choice. No. That was from the people who were funding the Democratic ticket. Probably a lot of business billionaire people say, hey, Biden needs to drop out. And a lot of these politicians on both sides of the house, they're going to do what their investors tell them to do. Okay. Don't forget, politics is treated as a stock. Okay. When Republicans in office, some people's stock prices or their value goes up. And when the Democrats are in office, some of it goes down, but vice versa on both sides. So look at politics as a stock. Okay. Because they invest in these guys to do what they want them to do. Okay. Because don't forget, there are some business people who want illegal immigration. Illegal immigration helps businesses, so they don't have to hire Americans. I have to pay you $12 an hour. I have to pay you $15 an hour. And the only thing that you have is a high school diploma. Well, yeah, that's based on the cost of living in America. And that's rule of law. Okay, well, these illegals over here, I don't have to pay them $12 or $15 or even $10 an hour. I can pay them $5 an hour because they are legally in the country. So believe me, businesses benefit from illegal immigration. You don't see none of these political organizations, okay, with all this federal power to talk to the DOJ, to have meetings with Homeland Security, to get into office with the FBI, CIA, DEA, etc., because all of these agencies can actually form a coalition together and go after American businesses that are muling and transporting and supporting illegal immigration. But they won't do that because everybody's getting paid. Everybody's getting paid, family. That's why they won't do it. So Kamala Harris. Yeah, we're there. We're going to get on her. We're going to get on Kamala Harris. Let me make sure I play this, family, because this right here was the end of Kamala Harris' presidential run. And I want to make sure nobody forgets this. I want to make sure that nobody forgets this at all. Listen in on this, family.
Prosecutor, and Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Yeah, that don't look good. That was a campaign killer for Kamala Harris.
Senator Harris says she's...
Hold on. That was definitely, I'm trying to tell you right now, family, that was definitely a campaign killer for Kamala Harris, because we cannot forget Kamala Harris, San Francisco district attorney from 2004 to 2021. And during her time there, she came up with initiatives like Back on Track program, which aimed to reduce, the first time nonviolent offenders education and employment opportunities instead of incarceration. Now, some people are like, oh, that's great. However, her office still prosecuted a vast majority of the nonviolent cases to be incarcerated, including drug offenses, which have disproportionately affected our community. Now you see during this fentanyl crisis, during this pill popping nation crisis that we have that's affecting the non-Black community. You're seeing all sorts of federal support, local, state funding to eradicate this addiction, to help people with their addiction, instead of putting them behind bars, instead of putting them behind bars, instead of putting them in chains. Because Kamala Harris has to be broken down, because we understand when she was the district attorney, when Kamala Harris was the attorney general for California, there's a lot of illegal things that they proved that Kamala Harris has done. And I quite frankly, I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with the things she did for non-violent criminals. She kept them in jail past their jail time in order for them to fight fires. Okay, in order for them to fight fires. Don't forget about the truancy program that she created that was going to incarcerate parents of unruly and bad kids. Now, the problem with that is you lock up the parents, what are you going to do with the children? Oh, the children are going to go into a group home. Show me the success rate of group home recipients being successful in society. So she's creating multiple problems. She's creating multiple problems. Even though she created these programs, which she'd like to state, there was one program that she stated that was back on track program that was going to give nonviolent offenders educational and employment opportunities. But when they look at the records, her office still prosecuted a significant number of cases that included drug offenses, but that was nonviolent. And I want you to think about nonviolent crime that may have to deal with just drugs. When we look at the fentanyl crisis, when we look at the opioid crisis, you have federal funding and federal support. You have state funding and state support. You have local funding and local support when it comes to the three different levels of government, not on the federal level, executive, legislative, et cetera, and judiciary. Those are the three federal ones, but I'm just talking about from a holistic point of view. And when we look at this family, who is opioids and fentanyl mostly affecting? It's affecting the non-Black community. But when the CIA allegedly, by the way of the American government, introduced and sold crack cocaine to drug dealers, when the American government in the 1986 anti-drug bill, the 1994 crime bill that Joe Biden created and also co-opted with the 86 anti-drug, they locked up the drug dealers as well as the drug users. But you don't see that. They are now decriminalizing, they are now decriminalizing drugs because now they're catching that non-Black people are addicted to drugs. Non-Black people are addicted to opioids. Non-Black people are addicted to fentanyl or things that are laced with it. So now we have to decriminalize it because white supremacy takes both sides of the arguments. So it's legal and illegal. Oh, if you don't want to do drugs, go to Texas. If you want to do drugs, go to Washington, go to Oregon, go to California, etc. Oh, if you want transgender bathrooms, don't go to Florida, go to California. You see? So you can do whatever you want to do in this country if you have the right skin color. Because if things get to a point where it's affecting a great majority of them, they'll just change the law. They will just change the law. That's all they would do. That's all they would do. This is absolutely crazy because when you have people of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. status, a lot of people may not like him to be the president. A lot of people may not like the way his sound because his voice, but no one has ever said that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was a liar. And I don't know if he's a liar or not, family, but listen in.
You mentioned Kamala Harris is who you said that the Democratic Party appeared poised to put into that position. You were critical there, obviously, of President Biden's policy. What, if anything, is different? How do you compare yourself to Kamala Harris if she does become the Democratic nominee for president?
Well, I think, Kamala Harris is the party of war. She's a war hawk. The Democratic Party was always the peace party. Kamala Harris is a war hawk on Ukraine. She's a war hawk on China. I think that we should be figuring out ways to coexist with the rest of the world as best we can. Of course, we need to protect our national security. I think she's not going to do anything about the national deficit. I've never heard her speak about the chronic disease epidemic, I think she's a product of the corporate control of our democracy. And she's one of the authors of, in terms of civil rights, she has one of the worst civil rights record of any public official. She's the author of one of the primary authors of the school to prison pipeline. She kept 5,000 people, despite a Supreme Court order that she released 5,000 prisoners of nonviolent drug crimes who were illegally in California jails. She kept them in there saying that we needed them for firefighting and for other public work services. And that's just a modern version of indentured servitude, a modern version of slavery. She was one of the two leading public officials in California, which now has the worst education system, 49th in education outcomes in the country. 50% of the homeless people in our country are in California, and she was behind those policies. I don't think she has a good, I don't think, in terms of the traditional democratic principles, I don't think she has a credible record.
All right. That was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. speaking on Kamala Harris. And let me tell you, power to this sister. This is exactly how we feel.
And how could I be so anti-Black woman? Let me show you.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you.
So while you were standing in line in your Chucks and Pearls thinking that she was a Black woman because she went to all the right schools, she pledged to right people because everybody knows that the Black vote is the unknown variant. That means that they truly show up for what it is that they support. And the Black community embraced and supported Kamala. When Kamala got in office, she told y'all that she wasn't Black and she identified as otherwise. After she had utilized your educational system, your support, your fraternities, your sororities, and she turned around and gave you her ass to kiss. Y'all gonna vote for her again? Inquiring minds want to know.
Yo, that just hit so hard. That just hit so hard how that lady broke that down. Shout out to her. Power to her. I'm moving on, family. I'm moving on. I'm moving on here. Let me try to get through this. I just want to show you guys some of the headlines. Can I show you guys some of the headlines here? Let's see here. The Democrats who could be Kamala Harris' running mate or challenge her for the nomination. Okay. Now, of course, they named some, they came down here and showed some people. We're not going to even get into who her running mate is because we don't even know if she's nominated. And if they do nominate her, oh my God. Listen. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. What do you guys think about him? Do you think she's going to win over any right-wing people who may be on the fence? Okay, I'm not going to read through this, family. I just wanted to show you very quickly that I read the article. And believe me, there's no one of significance other than probably Gavin Newsom that people are throwing around his name. But a lot of people, they're not really looking to Gavin Newsom to be the VP. If anything, he may decline it because he may have presidential, he may have presidential views. So that may hurt him on the losing ticket when it comes to Kamala Harris. With the states, hers will seek Democratic nomination and could be the first Black woman and Asian American to lead a majority party ticket. They had to put Black first. Have you noticed that? In Harris, Black sororities and fraternities celebrate one of their own. Kamala Harris and the ski-wee crowd. I have nothing against Greek fraternities or Black Greek fraternities, sororities. I have nothing against it. But just look for the sororities and fraternities to support Kamala Harris no matter their stance. This is vote blue no matter who. And they're going to get out and try to convince everyone. And don't forget, they're going to hold a barbecue. They're going to give a fish fry to entice, to motivate Black folk to vote for Kamala Harris. Okay? New governor made with gay marriage fight. This is one of the reasons why people may not vote for Gavin Newsom. Some of the legislation out of California that he's been signing into law that's dealing with not allowing or not asking children about their sexuality or gender, but in a way that it has to do with the LGBT community. It was very weird. When I read the legislation, it was just very, very weird. Weirdly worded to a certain degree, okay? And he also was the first one to sign into law that same-sex marriages, could take place, okay? First on CNN, Biden wades into GOP primary with 25 million ad blitz, starting with the economic focus. This is what I was referring to. This is a form of brainwashing, believe it or not, family. Listen to this. And CNN, I don't know if the writer meant to be as transparent as this. But listen to this. The ad blitz represents Biden's latest attempt to convince skeptical Americans that his policy have led to an improving economy, even as 51% of Americans say they think that the economy is still in a downturn or getting worse, meaning majority of the country believe that inflation, the country's in an economic downturn. I agree. That same poll found only 37% of Americans approve of Biden's handling of the economy, and even fewer approved of his handling of inflation, even with the Inflation Reduction Act, which, again, people say in politics, things take time. Okay, I'm not disputing that. Just keep that same energy no matter who the president is. The president's overall approval rating stood slightly higher at 41%. President's legislative accomplishment, including, we already talked about that. These other programs he signed into law, like the CHIPS Science Act and American Rescue Plan. The new ad push, listen to this. Let me blow this up for you guys. The new ad push is part of the Democrats' plan for counter programming. For counter programming. What they should have stated is counter reprogramming. The Democrats plan for a counter reprogramming, because what they notice is a lot of Black voters are either opting out the vote. They're not going to vote at all. They're going to keep their U.S. right and express their views on not voting, and sitting on the couch. That's what some people are going to do. Or they say, you know what? I'm done with the Democratic Party. I'm going to just see what happens. I'm going to vote Republican, see if anything's different. See if my business is different. My family is different. I'm different. They may, I'm just going to try it. There's a lot of Black people that they've been going by these surveys and polls of the decreased support of the Democratic Party, right? So they want to do counter programming. You're still programming people. This is what I mean by I don't think CNN meant to write it this way, or did they? I don't know. But, The Democrats plan for counter programming. See, when you counter a program, that means you're still programming. They didn't use a word like for people to counter misinformation. They didn't say that. Okay, they say programming. The Republican debate, when the Biden campaign believes the GOP candidates will fight out to MAGA each other, blah, blah, blah. Now this one, Biden's ad push, which will include several forthcoming ads. It will run for 16 weeks. It's going to run for 16 weeks, better known as 3 months. And look at the words, forthcoming ads. On broadcast and cable television, the battleground states of Arizona, Georgia, you see all these states, but here is where you know they're targeting the Black community for counter programming or counter reprogramming. The campaign is also placing ads in Hispanic and Black American media in each of these states. You know why? This is some of Roland Martin's doing right here, family. Roly-poly Martin has something to do with this because he kept crying about the federal government not investing in Black media. Now they're investing in Black media, but for what? Do you think they are investing in Black media for nonpartisan truth-telling reports? Or do you think they're going to be reporting the news in a very neutral, nonpartisan way? Hell no. This is part of the counter reprogramming, family. This is a part of it. Now they want to give money to Black media. And they're not giving Black media to the grassroots. They're not giving Black media money to reparationists. They're not giving Black media money to people who are on Black empowerment. They're giving it to your roly-poly Martins and your D.L. Hugleys. That is who they're giving the money to. And it states here, this represents the largest and earliest buy a re-election campaign has ever placed in Hispanic and Black American media outlets. That tells you that they were losing the Black vote. That this is the largest amount of money. And I'm tired of people keep stating that if Donald Trump becomes president, that democracy as we know it will fail. That democracy as we know will go away. Well, what is a true democracy? According to the Constitution, we live in a republic. What is a true democracy? Does that have to do with universal suffrage? That every adult has a right to vote, no matter based on their race or gender or economic status, etc.? And that we have a free and fair voting process? Or does it have to do with the rule of law and that the laws apply equally to all citizens? We already disproved that because now presidents can do no wrong because the Supreme Court has exonerated anything that you could possibly tack on to a president. They're exonerated. So that's a true democracy. They wrote into law that they can exemplify and exonerate presidents who commit crimes. That's not a true democracy because the laws apply to all citizens, including those in power. And those independent judiciary, they supposed to ensure that laws are upheld and rights are protected. We do not live in a true democracy. This is a republic. We don't have fair and free elections. And this has nothing to do with suppressing the Black vote. That's not what's happening. There's a lot of illegal and dead people voting. Again, there's a lot of illegal immigrants and dead people voting. Let's say that. And I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat, nor am I independent. We don't have human rights in this country for Black Americans. Because if we did, every single time an unarmed Black man, woman, and child get brutalized by the police, they will go to jail. This is a republic, not a democracy. And that's why so easily people can fearmonger you into Project 2025, even though that Donald Trump disavowed himself. But at the same time, his Agenda 47 is very similar to Project 25 in some regard. There's a lot of elements there. And is there truly a separation of powers? Because again, in a true democracy, you have to have separations of power. Now, we operate under the guise with the executive and legislative and judiciary branch, and that was to prevent abuse of government. But we see that really doesn't pan out our way because Supreme Court justice can do what the hell they want to do. We're supposed to have transparency and accountability. All these documents that supposedly be open, okay, that does not have to do, I repeat, that does not have to do with national security. These are closed, classified, top secret documents that should be open to the public and the public scrutiny. We do not receive that. Again, stop saying that democracy as we know it will fail when Donald Trump gets into office. This stop saying it doesn't make any goddamn sense because we do not live in a democracy. When have you guys seen anything about a democracy? I haven't seen it yet. If you knew what a democracy was. Let me ask you this. Social and economic equality. Do you believe there's efforts are truly being made to reduce the inequalities and ensure that all citizens have equal opportunities to participate in the political process? I don't think so. And here's another bit of information that a lot of people are not familiar with. The American government was basically designed off the Roman 12 laws, or the Roman, I forgot the actual name of it, but it was based off how Rome conducted their government. It's totally based upon that, which is a republic. Which is a republic. And let me show you who you guys are voting for. Let me show who you guys are voting for.
Or you tell them who you are. Don't ever carry as a personal burden your capacity to do whatever you dream and aspire to do based on other people's limited ability to see who can do what. We have to know that sometimes people will open the door for you and leave it open. Sometimes they won't. And then you need to kick that door down. Excuse my language.
Listen.
That's the next president of the United States, dropping the F-bomb and then laughing about it. Okay, now, even though this is insignificant, I'm going to be real with you, family. Even though this is insignificant, what I'm about to show you, but this is how countries like Australia is clowning the United States of America. This is crazy to me to even see.
Check in with the Veep, the Vice President of the United States of America, the talented, the inspirational, the insightful Kamala Harris, who delivered this stirring speech about the final frontier.
Space is exciting. It spurs our imaginations, and it forces us to ask big questions. Space, it affects us all, and it connects us all.
Kamala delivered that patronizing, cringeworthy speech this week at the Vandenberg Space Force Base. Now let's go back to when Donald Trump addressed the US Space Force.
Space is the world's newest warfighting domain. Amid grave threats to our national security, American superiority in space is absolutely vital.
Bit of a difference there. Now, Kamala has a track record of talking about the wonders of space.
I just love the idea of exploring the unknown. And then there's other things that we just haven't figured out or discovered yet. To think about so much that's out there that we still have to learn. Like, I love that. I love that. You guys are going to see. You're going to literally see the craters on the moon with your own eyes. Oh, my goodness. With your own eyes, I'm telling you.
That was the totally authentic Kamala. And
You know it's bad when another country clowns you. And of course, I see DT Bice says that Sky News is owned by Fox. Hey, you're correct, but she said what she said. That's not the point. Okay, we already know about Donald Trump and that foolery. So we're not going back and forth. We're talking about Kamala. And she's...
From the moment we take back the White House from crooked Joe Biden and Kamala, I call her Laughing Kamala. You ever watch her laugh? She's crazy. You know, you can tell a lot by a laugh. No, she's crazy. She's nuts. She's not as crazy as Nancy Pelosi, crazy Nancy. Did you see Nancy Pelosi is selling out Biden now? Did you see? She turned on him like a dog. Well, I don't know if he should continue. All of a sudden, where did that come from? She was 100%. All of a sudden, she's not sure. Not sure means he's gone. But no, she's crazy as a bed bug. She's a crazy person.
Yeah, family, I had to get off of that. My snail mail. But that was absolutely hilarious by Donald Trump. Again, I'm not a MAG. I'm not a Trumpster, so don't ask. But I had to just point that out for you guys. I absolutely did. I have one more treat for you guys. Let me see.
In which you live, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you. Who I think so many of us have had as mentors, as the people who raised us, as the communities that raised us, that looked at us, I'll speak for myself, and they convinced us we were special. We weren't particularly special, but we believed them when they told us that we were. And so we thought then about what we could achieve and our responsibility. And we had a sense of optimism about what we could do. And for so many of us, doing something that someone like us had never done before. It's about a perspective, it's about a state of mind, and then fueling that with the resources that are necessary to help all of our young people understand how special they are. We also understand there's a difference between equality and equity. Equity is everyone deserves to have.
I couldn't do it. I just family, I couldn't do it. She just babbling. Okay, she just babbling. She just babbling. Listen to this.
Senator Vance. Yeah, no, this is Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm wearing a black suit, and I just want to. Hello? Hello? Huh. Oh, no, I think we got disconnected. Yeah, I was thinking we can practice before the debate. Hello? What's your name? Jean-Claude Van Damme Pierre. We need another line. Do we have another number for him? He seems burdened by what has been. Yeah, we keep getting disconnected, Senator Vance. It's like you fell out of a coconut tree. Hello? I
lost him again. I got you state-of-the-art knee pads. Hello. You don't have to use them.
As you can tell, shout out goes to our sister, Mommy RN88. Fair use on all the material that was used here this evening. Family, there's really no solid candidate for Black Americans that are going to give foundational Black Americans what they are owed. Okay, not a handout, not giving us what we need or ask for, but what we're owed. That's all we're asking. Because this, as one last clip, so you guys do not forget about Kamala Harris and what she has done for the Black American community and what she has promised to the foundational Black American family, I'll just remind you.
Do you support reparations? Do you support reparations for Black people?
Listen.
Again,
we had over 200 years of slavery.
We had over 200
We
years
had
of
Jim
slavery.
Crow for almost a
We had Jim
century.
Crow for almost a century.
We had
legalized
legalized
discrimination,
segregation, and now we have
discrimination, segregation, and now we
le-
have
segregation and discrimination that is not legal.
segregation and discrimination that is not legal.
We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around
housing.
We have disparities around
education.
And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing.
did not start out on an equal
And in
footing
particular,
this
Black
country.
people have not.
And in particular, Black people
And so
have
we
not.
have got to recognize that.
And so
do
we have
something
got to
about that and
recognize
give folks
that and
a
do
lift
something
up.
about that.
That's
and
why,
give
for
folks
example,
a
I'm
lift
proposing
up.
the lift act.
That's why, for example, I'm proposing the
Give
lift act.
people who are making $100,000
Give
or
people who
less
are
as a
making
family
$100,000 or less
credit,
as a family,
which will
a tax
benefit and
credit,
uplift,
which will
60%
benefit
of
and
Black
uplift
families who are in poverty.
60% of Black
So
families
by
who are in
default,
poverty.
it affects Black so families. by default, there's it not a affects particular Black families, policy but there's not a for particular African policy for African Americans.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit
the
from
reality
certain
of who will
policies,
benefit from certain
when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit. It will directly
Black
benefit
children, Black families, Black homeowners.
Black children, Black families,
Because the
Black
disparities
homeowners.
are so significant.
Because the disparities
So if
are
we
so
focus
significant.
on the specific
So
issues
if we focus on the specific
that have
issues
resulted in the greatest
that have
disparities,
resulted in the greatest disparities,
and we understand that that's part of
and
why
we
we're
understand
doing
that
it.
that's part of why
Listen,
we're doing it.
The reality also is this.
The
Any
reality
policy that
also
will
is
benefit
this.
Black
Any
people
policy that
will
will
benefit
benefit
all
Black
society.
people
Will
Let's
benefit
be
all
clear about
society.
that.
Let's be
Let's
clear
really
about
be
that.
clear about that.
Let's really be
So
clear
I'm not
about
going to sit
that.
here and say I'm going to do something
So
that's
I'm not
only
gonna
going to
sit here and
benefit
say I'm
Black
gonna do-
people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country. Right?
Yep. So we already know what Kamala Harris stands because she is yet to go back on that statement, void that statement in any sense. So we already understand that. I thank all of you guys for joining me here this evening. I thank my Ma Jermaine Anderson. Just to point out some people in the room. See bios in the room. DT Pointer's in the room. Yeah, DT, that happens a lot for some reason. And again, I don't care if my channel, I'll be real with you guys. Whether it's monetized or not, I don't care. I'm gonna speak the truth. And I'm gonna be very non-biased about my opinions and perspective on it. But nonetheless, that was Kamala Harris, and neither one is fit to be president for Foundation Black Americans because neither one has offered anything as of yet. So it's very insignificant. Could Trump be a better president for all of American citizens and somehow Black Americans are grouped into that and we continue to receive the meager resources that we have been? But of course. But believe me, if somebody said, would you choose the lesser of two evils? And let's just state that Kamala Harris is the most evilest one. Would you then vote for Donald Trump? And I think you see it right here on my display, Couch 2024. But if I absolutely had to vote for evil, I'll never vote for evil.